Okay, here we are getting ready for the big real estate revival. I'm Greg Rand, your host on Rand on Real Estate. I'm here with Laura Smith, my co-host. How are you?
Great, and you? And a beautiful day?
Beautiful day, finally.
Finally.
Yeah, for people in New York that have been under a pile of snow for so long, this is spectacular. I just came back from the White Plains St. Patrick's Day Parade.
In green, I see.
Yeah, I behaved myself, though. I knew I was going
did.
to be on the air, so no green beer for me until maybe later on. We'll see what happens there. So this is a show about capitalism, about entrepreneurship, about making money, recession be darned. And we got a lot of things on tap today. We're going to tell you the 3 things you didn't know about how to build wealth in real estate. We're going to talk to a couple of guys who are professional real estate investors who you've never heard of before because they're just quietly out there getting wealthy under the radar, building real estate portfolios. And, Laura, normally these guys don't like sharing their secrets. Normally they keep it, that's kind of like trade secrets. But because this is WABC,
yes,
and because we asked them to come on to the blowtorch station of all time, they couldn't help it. So we're going to dig some secrets out of these fellows today, and they're going to share with you what they see out there in the marketplace. And I'm going to share some things about some things you want to avoid. One of the things that I know that I'm in danger of when I go on the radio, go on TV, I wrote a book, as you know, Crash Boom.
Congratulations. Yes.
Yeah, I'm psyched. You know what? Crash Boom is just out, and they're out of it at Amazon already.
You're kidding.
Yeah. I don't know how many they got. They got a supply to start them off, and they sold them out already. And the local bookstores near me were also out. So I think something's going on out there.
It must be the WABC listeners.
That's got to be it. No doubt about it. And I think the timing, this is the only real estate book that is actually copyrighted 2011 right now that's on the shelves. And so my sense of this is that the people out there are looking for a reason to look past this recession once and for all. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that also. But there are some things you need to be careful of, things you have to worry about, because a lot of the books that are out there, a lot of the guys that maybe if you can't sleep and you popped on the television at 2 o'clock in the morning and watch some cable, you may have run across some of these fellows, the get-rich-quick guys. Right?
Oh, yeah, lots of those.
Yeah, there's always a couple of them out there. And we're going to talk about that and make sure that you know what to avoid, because there's a lot of really lousy advice going around out there, and I am the antidote to that. That's what Rand on Real Estate is. This is the voice of reason of how to get rich in real estate, how to time your transactions right, how to do this the right way, and how to avoid the wrong kind of advice that's out there. So we're going to have a fun hour, chock full of good things, and I want to start doubling back to that experience that I'm having. I launched this book. It's my first book, and it's Crash Boom, okay? It's about how you're going to have crashes and you're going to have booms, and these things follow each other, okay? And there's an inevitability about what is coming next that I want people to get. So this book it absolutely goes into detail to explain to people why this really is a relatively unique point in history. The only thing similar to it was the Great Depression, and it goes into great detail to show how the crises were similar, but the opportunity after the Great Depression is maybe going to be mirrored something like what we see coming next. What happened after the Great Depression? What were the opportunities there? And I go into a lot of detail to tell you exactly how to set a strategy correctly, exactly how to go out and find winning markets that are going to appreciate better than average, how to find properties that are kind of like those ugly ducklings that are hiding right out there in plain sight that everybody else is missing, and show you how this is really a creative and entrepreneurial pursuit, real estate investing. And people don't always realize that. So when you see it through my eyes, through the experiences that I've had, and through the guys that we're going to talk to on the phone in a few minutes, I think you'll get pumped up about the fact that, the internet's cool, real estate's cooler. All right? Apple's got some cool products. Buying stock in Apple's a great idea. Buying American real estate's a better idea.
It's always been a better idea.
Always been a better idea. Exactly. Because Apple, I hate to say it, eventually
something better is going to come along.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually it's going to go out of style, and American real estate will not. So some really interesting things happening out there. The quick sales of the book Crash Boom, a real estate book that 2 years ago I could not get publishers to even return my phone calls. They said things like, a real estate book during the housing meltdown? Like, what are you, crazy? And who's going to buy that? And I'm saying, well, it takes you people like a year to get a book out. So we have to be thinking a little bit further ahead anyway. But of course, if there's a housing crisis going on, there's going to be opportunity on the other end. So finally, I found a forward-thinking publisher called Career Press who backed the book. And the fact that it's selling right now, and the fact that they've got me now on sort of the radio book tour, I'm doing radio interviews 1 or 2 a day, and they're mostly business radio stations. And what their reaction to this is like, hallelujah, somebody's finally saying something positive and optimistic and backing it up. They don't want to hear a guy talking rose-colored glasses. But somebody's finally speaking optimistically, and they're finally backing it up. And the response that I'm getting overwhelmingly is people saying things like, I kind of knew this. I kind of felt this in my heart, that all this talk about the real estate market collapsing and the free fall and the meltdown and all this superlative, negative, permanent, the market is done forever. I mean, even the federal government, the president is saying things like, renting is fine. Home ownership is not something that we're going to recommend or push anymore. And so people know this. They know it in their hearts, and now they're going to have the substance behind the argument so they can go out there and spread the optimism to their friends. But that kind of optimism, it's not me that's doing this, obviously, okay? Something is different now. And I've been saying here for the last couple of months that I feel different. As a business entrepreneur who's now running a startup company, launched a startup company a year and a half ago, I'll tell you about it later, ownamerica.com. I feel different, and I think I finally figured out what it is. And that is during the roaring 2000s, which is what I like to call that, this period in the 2000s that was just going wild. We had a country addicted to credit, right? You had households at the very street level, households that were living off home equity, that were living on credit cards, that were perceiving that their nest egg was in their home equity. So they began to live on the equity. They used to pull the equity out. Remember, you used to get letters in the mail saying, hey, here's a $100,000 check from the bank. Just sign it and we'll open your home equity account. So the banks were, or the households were living on credit. Businesses were living on credit. Companies that were competing using the power of their own capital for decades found that their competition, who was borrowing money and elevating their market share by borrowing and increasing their ability to produce and capitalize on the market boom by using credit, they got addicted. And of course, we know the governments, federal, state, local, everybody in between got addicted to borrowing money. But what's really cool is that when this crisis hit, what we know about what households did is we all tightened our belts. We all learned how to live with a little bit less. We all learned that, okay, my home equity is not going to be a cash machine anymore. And I have to learn how to live within my means. And we tightened our belts and we changed our lifestyles. And what we have right now is, even though consumer spending isn't skyrocketing yet, consumer debt retirement, meaning people paying down their debts, paying down credit cards, putting down much bigger down payments on houses when they buy. That is happening in incredible levels right now. If you go out and Google and search that subject, you're going to find lots of articles that talk about the fact that people are just living closer to their means and paying things down. Companies are doing the same thing. They cut employees, unfortunately, but they cut fat across the board. They trimmed down, and they were able to increase their profitability as illustrated by the stock market doing really well. We're like a couple of days after the 1 year anniversary, or maybe the 2 year anniversary. Yeah, 2 year anniversary of the bottom of the stock market. So companies getting healthier made those companies perform better, made the stock market perform better. And the only place left, right, if households were learning to live within their means and shaking off those bad habits, and businesses were doing the same, the only place left was government. They were still borrowing like crazy, still trying to spend their way out of this thing at every level, but that changed. If you watch the news now, what you see across the board, whether it's local, state, federal, certainly within the sound of this broadcast, the governors in and around the New York area are doing a bang-up job right now, just trying to get to the table and do what they have to do to make these states solvent. And what you see down in Washington, there's a lot. People are fighting the good fight now. They're having the conversations now. They're fighting the good fight, and I believe that businesses just like me, big, small, and in between, are all looking at that and saying, all right, now the entire country has gotten the message. We're all going to live within their means. We're getting this animal under control. And what that means is we're able to prosper again as a country and grow again. So you're listening to Rand on Real Estate. We're going to talk about some specifics of how to apply this newfound confidence that I've got, and hopefully you're getting also, to building your nest egg, building your wealth, and capitalizing on the big real estate revival.
And call in also.
Yes, I was going to say that. Call us, 800-848-WABC. That's 800-848-9222. Back in a minute.